Hey, 42 here. 22.5500 degrees north, 91.3667 degrees west. Those are the coordinates for Bermeja Island in the Gulf of Mexico. Its name comes from its reddish colour. As you can see on this map, it's only a smallish island, roughly 80 square kilometres, but there's something really odd about it. It isn't there. In 1997, a group of Mexican fishermen sailed out to the location of Bermeja and found nothing. Again, in 2009, a Mexican university conducted a large search and found no such island, just endless, deep blue sea. But this makes no sense. It definitely should be here. The Spanish cartographers drew Bermeja Island in the 15 and 1600s, and between the 16th and 20th centuries, numerous maps drawn up by different nations all placed Bermeja in the exact same location. One can only assume they genuinely did find dry land at that spot in the ocean. It's not the only island that appears on old maps, yet cannot be found today. Take Sandy Island, off the coast of eastern Australia. It has appeared on nautical maps since the 19th century. Sandy Island even shows up on Google Maps as a weird black shape. But when Australian scientists sailed there to investigate, all they found was water. Most missing islands, like Sandy Island, are no more than curiosities or anomalies. But Bermeja is surrounded by tense politics, which makes finding it, or discovering what happened to it, of top priority for Mexico. In recent decades, Mexico has been so determined to locate this mysterious missing island because of, you guessed it, oil. Under the 1982 United Nations Convention, each country owns the mineral rights and fishing rights of 200 nautical miles going out from all directions of that country's landmass. This 200-mile radius is called an Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. But a country's landmass, of course, also includes any islands it may own. And yes, even if that island is 100 miles out at sea, that country owns the natural resources of 200 miles around that island, as well as its mainland. So owning islands can hugely extend a nation's EEZ beyond its usual borders. This is exactly why Mexico so desperately wants Bermeja Island to exist. The location where Bermeja supposedly once was happens to be the furthest north of any of Mexico's islands, in the Gulf of Mexico. So, laying claim to it would push Mexico's EEZ hundreds of miles further north than its current situation. And to make the island an even more attractive prize, the 200 miles around Bermeja Island's location happen to be rich with pockets of underground oil, millions of barrels worth. Finding Bermeja would allow Mexico to get their hands on this sticky black gold instead of America. Yet, no matter how many times Mexico searched for it, Bermeja Island remains frustratingly elusive. Which is annoying because it has fantastic Google reviews. As one 5-star reviewer described it, "Amazing, took my family there over the summer, sad that there was just open waters and no island, and my son Timmy drowned. Then some helicopters came in and started shooting at us. I would definitely recommend going there." Not only does Bermeja appear on countless old maps, but there are reports less than 10 years ago of Mexican fishermen coming across the island during their travels. They usually report seeing a small spit of red land in the location shown on the maps. But official searches have never had such success, and there is no photographic evidence of the island ever existing. For an island that is supposed to be 80 square kilometres to simply disappear is beyond weird. So what is going on here? Many theories have been thrown out to explain the disappearance of Bermeja. It could be that rising sea levels from climate change have drowned it. But this is unlikely. It would have to be a very small island for the small change in sea levels to have claimed it by now. Also, when the National Autonomous University of Mexico went to investigate in 2009, they didn't just sail a dinghy around in circles for an hour. They used advanced ultrasounds to image the seafloor to a depth of 472 meters. in an area of 223 square kilometres, and they found no sign of an underwater island that could have once been above sea level. Another explanation is that it could have been a particularly delicate landmass, made of perhaps coral, and therefore the sea may have eroded it away over the past few decades. But the few eyewitness reports there are speak of a rocky and sandy island, not coral. Though one has to wonder how reliable are the reports of drunk Mexican fishermen. It could simply be that the coordinates are incorrect, and Bermeja does exist, but in an entirely different area of the Gulf of Mexico than what is shown on the maps. You may think that an island couldn't simply hide in the 21st century, but that would be underestimating the unfathomable vastness of the ocean. Whilst extremely unlikely, it's not out of the realms of possibility, though satellite imagery makes the chances of this vanishingly small. Perhaps the most believable explanation for the mysterious missing island is that it never existed in the first place. So, how can it possibly appear on different maps? Cartography is an art form. Before the 20th century, maps were completely hand-drawn, and there were only a few people in the world with sufficient maths and art skills to be able to draw detailed and accurate maps. The Italians and English were particularly good at it. With map creation being so difficult and essential to ruling the waves, nation-states would seek to protect maps as though they were nuclear launch codes. One method of detecting copycat map fraudsters was by inventing islands. Cartographers would often draw fake islands on their maps. These islands didn't exist in the real world, but if anyone copied their maps, they would instantly know because they would invariably copy the fake islands too. It's therefore extremely likely that Bermeja was a trap island, placed there by an early 16th century Spanish cartographer, knowing full well that it didn't exist, with the sole intention of catching out rival map makers who also drew Bermeja into their maps. And possibly many did. All the subsequent maps that have shown Bermeja down the centuries could have simply copied it from the earlier maps. But there is an even more outlandish explanation to why Bermeja may no longer exist. Of course, when an island disappears into thin air or water, every lonely man and his cat is going to invent a juicy conspiracy. Some say that Bermeja was blown up by the Americans, specifically the CIA, at some point during the past few decades. Why? Well, to stop Mexico expanding their EEZ and getting their hands on all of that oil, of course. It sounds utterly ridiculous that an entire island could be blown up, but with US firepower, it's absolutely possible. Nobody can prove whether or not the Americans blew up Bermeja, but one has to ask, how much importance does the US put on oil? And what end would they go to claim it? Thanks for watching. I've just launched my first book, which I'm crowdfunding through Unbound Publishing. It's called Sticker Flagging It, 1,000 Years of Bizarre History from Britain and Beyond. If you want to get your hands on a first edition, signed copy, then head on over to Unbound, the link's in the description, check out the launch video over there if you haven't already, and pledge today. Thank you.